Hello, everybody. Good morning. It's almost 5 o'clock in the morning here where I'm at, and I just thought that I would jump on here real quick, do a little short video of some of a couple of the prophecies that the Lord has showed me over the years that has came to pass in very much details. Um, I'm going to start with this prophecy right here that I had in 2016. A bunch of these are from 2016, the stuff that I was shown. On November 1st, I had a vision, and in the vision, I seen animals crying out towards the sky and heard in my spirit in the dream the words, and it was just plain as can be, even all the beasts of the earth will cry out to me. And then I seen the continent of Europe. Then I seen the earth move out away from me, go further and further away until it disappeared. It repeated several times, the earth moving away over and over, like souls being removed from the earth. And that was the end of the vision, and it ended. And then the Lord had gave me the he gave me the first part of this, and then a little bit later he gave me the second part of Joe. And whenever I'd posted this on there, November 1st, 2016, it was in two different parts divided between 2016 and, I mean, 2016. That's when he gave me the vision. But it was in between verses 16 and 17, because it's still Joe 1, and it's the rest of the scriptures that goes with this that picks up. But pay attention to where that's divided at in between 16 and 17. And it says, sanctify ye a fast, cause solemn assembly, gather the elders for all the inhabitants of the land into the house of the Lord your God, and cry unto the Lord. Elias, for the day of the Lord is at hand, and as a destruction from the Almighty it come. It says, is it not meat cut off before our eyes? Yea, joy and gladness from the house of our God. And then he gave me the second half. It was like a little bit later afterwards. And so I had posted it together just like he gave it to me separately. And on November 1st. And it says, the seed is rotten under their clods, and the gardeners are laid desolate. The barns are broken down, the corn is withered. How do the beasts groan? The herds of cattle are perplexed, because they have no pasture. Yea, the flocks of the sheep are made desolate. O Lord, to thee I will cry, for the fire hath devoured the pastures of the wilderness, and the flame hath burned all the trees of the field. The beasts of the field cry also unto thee, for the rivers of waters are dried up, and the fire hath devoured the pastures of the wilderness. Now, whenever he gave this to me, there wasn't no like real big. I mean, there was fires that we get normally almost every year. We get fires across the United States here and there. But whenever he gave this to me, this vision on November 1st, and I seen the animals crying out towards the sky, and heard my spirit, even all the beasts of the earth will cry out to me. And then this scripture down here, it's talking about animals and a fire and everything else. Well, this is what happened a couple of weeks later. And notice that split up between 16 and 17. God is so detailed. I tell you what, he is just so detailed. But if we go over here, if y'all remember the Gatlinburg fires at Dollywood, this was a couple of weeks later. This is November 30th. It was just a couple of weeks later. They found, a Dollywood employee finds page burnt from burned Bible. And around that time, those fires were so bad, they was worried like about all of the animals in the wilderness and everything, because they had a bunch of news. Somebody's alarm going off out there. But anyway, it's going to make my dogs bark. I'll give them a couple of minutes. It's all right, Rocky. It's okay. It's just somebody's alarm going off. I tell you. It's the second time I've tried to make this video and something like happens. But anyway, they was worried about all of the animals in the wilderness and stuff, because the woods and stuff was so burning so bad up around this. And then even Dollywood caught on fire. But anyway, they found this burn charred piece of page from the Bible, and which I'll show you a picture of the Bible down here. It's on here. Let me find it. Hang on. He said, as soon as I got down on the ground, I noticed it was a Bible verse. I was like, well, we ain't gonna say that, but it was in a puddle of water, he said, and I wanted to take care of this the best way I can, so I gently scooped it up and carried it out the best I could. It says, the edges of the paper were singed, but one verse stood out. O Lord, to thee I will cry, for the fire hath devoured the pastures of the wilderness, and the flame hath burnt all the trees of the field. The page reads, and if you'll look at this is the page that he found. And I want you to look at this. Look where that is charred at. 17 is like starts right in here, and here's 16. At the end of 16 and 17, that is charred apart, like right into. And that's the exact verses that he gave me. It's the exact verses that he gave me, and it was even broke up. That's how detailed God is. God will put such details together. It's just amazing. It still amazes me, even though he's been showing me stuff for years and years. It still amazes me whenever some of these things come to pass, how I mean, he is definitely a God of details. No doubt about that. Okay, so going back to the vision, and at the same time, I seen the continent of Europe too. And the days that they found, this this right here, and whenever Dollywood caught on fire, and then they found the scriptures, that same exact time, let me pull up one of the comments that was under this that I wrote. It says, the finding of this charred Bible page in Tennessee. So this was a comment that I put on here, but you can look this up, of what I saw in the vision on November 1st. The scriptures are charred at the same spot between verse 16 and 17. That God gave me the scriptures for the vision separately. Says it was also found on the exact day, the 29th, that all of Europe took part in an agreement of the division of Israel, God's land, which they did. Europe came into an agreement that they was all agreeing that they wanted a two-state solution, and they've been pushing this ever since 2016. And then what happened? We had that first eclipse in 2017, right afterwards. And I remember right around that eclipse, 2017, there was like 70 nations that came together, which 7 is very prophetic.
Location, Mariana Islands region, class strong, magnitude.
Sorry, it's my earthquake tracker.
2 miles, 7 minutes ago.
I had a earthquake somewhere. Okay. But 70 different nations, they came together, and they were all in agreement too to divide God's land. And this has been building up for a while. It's not something that's just happening. And I think it's got to be getting really soon that it's fixing to happen, because we got all of these stuff is like coming to pass. It is really starting to come to pass, everything. And Bible prophecy stuff that was wrote 2,000 years ago or more, and some of the prophecies is older than that. It goes back to like 3 and 4,000 years ago, prophecies that was written that's very much in detail that is coming to pass. So, but anyway, but all the glory goes to God, because he warns his people. He lets us know ahead of time what's going to happen, and he will guide our steps if we allow him. And even Paul taught in the Bible, that for we know in part and we prophesy in part. Like, he may not give us the whole entire picture. Like, he's liable to give part of it to one person and the other part to the other person, which brings me to this next prophecy that we just seen about this bridge. I only knew part. All I know is what I just seen. Uh, I had a dream, and it was really short dream, and it was in 2018, September 21st, which is it was on the 7th month of the biblical calendar. And like I said, he likes to show a lot of stuff, it seems like, in the 7th month, for me anyway. But I seen this big bridge, and it was very similar to this. It was a big metal bridge, and I didn't know where it was at. And then I just seen a shoreline of trees on one side of it. On one side of the bridge, I could see the trees along the shoreline down here, and it was very detailed, though I wasn't sure where the bridge was located. But I knew it was in a large waterway. Like, there was it was a large waterway, and that's all I seen. It was just like, and I've been wondering about this for a long time, and I'd almost like forgot about it, because it's been since 2018 since I was shown this big metal bridge going across a waterway. Well, at that same time, he actually, like within that same month, I had gotten the Watch Atlantic dream, and I seen the words Watch Atlantic, and then I seen someone's face slowly going underwater, face up, and their nose was growing, staying above the water, kind of like the children's story of how Pinocchio's nose grew whenever he fibbed. And I wasn't sure exactly what it meant at first, so I just I put out there it could possibly mean someone's fibbing, or it could be submarines in the water off the Atlantic, or it could have to do with the storms in the Atlantic. And it says we watch the Atlantic and see. And this was in September too. And on September 6th is whenever I had the Atlantic one. And then when was the other one? The other one, when did I say that was? And then the other one was on the 21st. So it was just a couple of weeks apart, and this was large waterway. Well, the Baltimore bridge that just fell is over by the Atlantic. And it's a big metal bridge too. So, and if you look at some of that, the lines right there around it, the shorelines, it has lots of trees on some of the shorelines too around that as well. And so I had forgotten all about this, even whenever I seen the news about that bridge falling. And my cousin had sent me a link to this other woman from Kentucky, and she had had a dream like 3 weeks before about bridges collapsing. and and then this one collapsed the day after. And I also want to mention this happened the very day after. Let's go over here to the calendar real quick. We had that Purim lunar eclipse on Sunday, and Monday the USA abstained at the UN vote against Israel. I mean, because doing nothing is an answer. That is an answer. Otherwise, you're just going to let stuff go through where the nations are coming against Israel and trying to force a ceasefire and everything at the UN. And the USA basically betrayed Israel by just standing back and because they could have stopped that from even going to the UN floor. And then that very same day is when Russia was attacked by the ISIS-K, where people was killed over in Russia. And then the very next day after that, the Baltimore Bridge was hit by a ship. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. And we still are waiting on details on finding out why exactly the bridge collapsed. So, but anyway, let's back up here. And remember too, he had showed me where, that he was going to start confirming with the prophetic ministry. He had told me that about that too, where he was going to start confirming people that he has called into the prophetic ministry, where they was going to start confirming things together for his people. Which I talked about that in one of my earlier videos. Okay, so let's go back in here. So that's the bridge in Dollywood. Okay, Hurricane Ian. I kind of mentioned this a couple of times, and he showed me the path of destruction of Ian, or Hurricane Ian. Let me get out of this one. And on September 5th, 2016, remember I told you September, October, it's like that falls on that 7th month. Okay, on this dream right here, I awoke to a flash dream of TD9. Remember that? Tropical Depression 9. And woke up feeling on fire, hot, and could hardly breathe. And remember that. That's a detail. These details are very, very important. And I'll go over and tell you what happened. It says TD9 was first called 999L. It was one of the storms. And because he gave me this right around, we was having a tropical depression 9 at that same time in 2016. And I was just kind of going over this one here that went over Florida, and this is where he led me to, was these pictures right here. And it says, because this is what I was pretty much seeing in the dream on the cloud covers and stuff in those areas, like right in here. Okay, and it says, I felt in my spirit this is going to be a path of destruction of a lot larger magnitude when the judgment of the USA comes. And it says this will all be affected by tsunamis. Now remember that as well, because it was like I knew that tsunamis was going to have something to do with it. Okay, so now we go over here to the news. They called it in the news the storm surge because they called it's a tsunami because of the waves being so high on Hurricane Ian. Okay, it hit, where's it at here? It was on September 23rd which was the third day of Tishri, which was the seventh month on the biblical calendar. And um, it was a tropical depression 9, became tropical storm Ian on, like, before it became a hurricane on September 23rd, or they may have just updated it on that one. But anyway, it was originally a tropical depression 9 in 2022. And that morning that I remember we was watching, all of the different hurricanes, because I've been watching all of them ever since I had that dream. But especially the tropical depressions, number 9s every year. And then this one here, it became Ian. And let me get back over here. This was Ian's path of where it hit. And I'll explain that. Woke up feeling hot, on fire, and could hardly breathe. The day that Ian hit Florida, I had to go to urgent care because I couldn't hardly breathe and I was running fever that morning. The morning it hit, I woke up running fever really bad and went to the doctor at urgent care, and they had diagnosed me with bronchitis, and I was bad sick, had to take off work and stuff. And I never miss work. People that know me knows that I don't hardly ever miss work. But where's that out? Hang on, let me pull it up. Here's Ian's path. It came right through here where those clouds was on that he showed me. And then these clouds up here, there was clouds up here where it hit. I mean, it hit exactly on that other map that he showed me. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. And then right before Ian hit, which I think that this right here had to do with October 7th, whenever Israel got hit. But it's just wild, though, that happened in the 7th month on the biblical calendar. And this was the same year, in March 3rd, 2022, that I had the 7th month prophecy, where I seen the 7th month and heard a voice audibly say in the dream, "Many will go home." And I knew that that would happen in the 7th month. And it happened with Ian too, as well. Not only did many go home in Israel to their eternal resting place, I just hope and pray that, many of those were saved and knew Jesus. But go ahead and close that one down. But anyway, whenever that hit on September 28th, when Hurricane Ian hit, that was the 3rd of Tishri, which was 2 days after Feast of Trumpets. And it's 2 days from Feast of Trumpets on the biblical perspective, but in Jerusalem they celebrate Feast of Trumpets for 2 days because it's the only feast that they have to send 2 witnesses out into the desert to spot the new moon before it can actually start. So they have it marked for the 1st and the 2nd of Tishri to celebrate it, because and they just recently started sending the 2 witnesses out again, just like they did in biblical days, to spot the new moon. And they talk about how that day, the Feast of Trumpets, is basically the day that no one knows the day or the hour, because they don't know when that first slither of the new moon is going to come out for them to send word back to Jerusalem to start blowing their trumpets, which I thought that was very interesting whenever I found out about that. All right, so now there's that pretty much went over the Hurricane Ian that came to pass. And most of these he gave me like in 2016. All right, now the Lord had gave me a dream about the Pope, and I know that's might upset some people, but this is what I was showed, and I have to put out there what I was showed. Um, on January 27th of 2017, I dreamed the Pope had to go to surgery because something was wrong with his stomach, his belly, or his stomach. It says when the doctors cut his belly open, all that was in his stomach was worthless worldly goods. It says, I remember specifically seeing a white moped scooter in his stomach, this is symbolic. I mean, this is so symbolic, because you got a scooter that has a certain amount of horsepower, but it's not an actual horse. And we have a white horse in the book of Revelations on one of the seals. And I mean, just saying, this is symbolic. And it says along with other things of the world, and that was the end of the dream. And the Lord gave me these scriptures to go with this. For many walk, of whom I have told you often, and now tell you even weeping, that they are enemies of the cross of Christ, whose end is destruction, and whose God is their belly, and whose glory is in their shame, who mind earthly things. That's in Philippians 3:18 and 19. And I just thought the whole thing was like very symbolic, the actual dream itself. But come to find out, though, in what was it, 2021 and 2023, the Pope had, of all things, he had to have surgery on his abdominal area, like right here. Says the Vatican says Pope Francis has emerged after a 3-hour abdominal surgery with no complications. He was admitted for the procedure to open up his abdomen after developing a hernia linked to a 2021 operation. So he had to have like surgery on his belly. Yeah, it's funny how, I mean, it's not funny, but how God is just so detailed. He is so detailed on this stuff. And he's came out, the Pope has came out and said a lot of stuff that is not biblical that has to do with Jesus. And over the last, I'd say probably about 10 years, 8 to 10 years, and it just gets worse and worse, some of the stuff that he says.